Hi, everyone. Welcome to Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to Better Life discussion. During our weekly episodes, we explore this intersection of spirituality and psychology, and as a result, we aim to capture timeless wisdom contained in both fields. I'm super excited to be here with you, Jussara, because as our podcast founder and co host, you bring me so much insight and very deep, profound reflections of Joanna de Angelis about this journey of the human spirit, right? So we're going to start maybe today's discussion about this journey, this travel from instinct to self-awareness and transcendence. But before we start, I just want to know how you doing, Josada?
Oh, hello, Marcia. What kind of words you are telling me? But it's always so nice to hear. We need more kindness in the world. So it's great. It's amazing that we have been doing this podcast for so long already, and that each time more we are having so many great feedbacks from everyone. And yeah, let's keep up doing the good work.
That's great to
Hello
hear. Yes.
to our
Um,
podcast.
Yeah. So today, Josara, the plan is to discuss and perhaps uncover this path for achieving a meaningful life. And this is a heavy topic. I think all of us, most of us on earth today are empty. We are devoid of meaning. So we are seeking rather desperately to find what is a meaningful life. Where does it lie? And Joanna de Angelis, as we know, she states very clearly it does not lie in the external world, but within, where faith, reason, and self knowledge converge. So I just wanted to maybe propose this, Josara. Shall we talk about what does this meaningful journey to the soul look like? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is quite interesting because, from our perspective, and this is something that we have been, you know, kind of repeating in our talks about the perspective we have in relation to life. Being living in a material world, very rarely we are thinking about ourselves as spirits, as immortal spirits, and sometimes even questioning what is my purpose here, what am I doing here. And so because of that, I think we lose track of what we are here to accomplish, and really of this journey that you're talking about. We forgetting that we are so a soul and a spirit, an immortal spirit. We
Mhm.
go more into the direction of what seems to be the things that are worrying me right now, the needs that I need to fulfill right now, and I forget that it's temporary. So the meaningful journey, the meaningful path is to at least to find balance, because
Mhm.
of course we are not talking about here completely obliterating the material world, because this is not possible. We are here,
Mhm.
we live in a material body, we have to fulfill, the needs of this material body, but we cannot lose track of the spirit. And so the journey means constantly being reminded or remembering yourself that you are a spirit, and the reason why you are here and what you have to learn is much more important, and everything that is happening to you has a meaning. And when you go through different phases in your life, be that of happiness or pain, people always come to you and say there is a lesson behind all that.
Yeah.
Even, constantly we hear when we are going through hard stuff, but sometimes, when we are going through to good times as well, deep inside our minds we are thinking, what did I do to deserve,
I hear
those
you.
the days or months of such bliss, right? Or experience of such bliss. And so I think we have to remember that, yeah, each one of our experiences, they have a meaning in our journey, and we have to pay attention to that in order to increase our potentiality
Yeah,
as a spirit.
yeah,
So
and this reminds me of a couple of uh reference material, reference books, if you will. And number one, when you said that we get lost, right? We get distracted. Why? Well, we live in a material world. We have responsibilities. We have to do things, take care of our family members, ourselves, etc. And we end up forgetting the spiritual component, which is the larger component if you think in terms of relative scale of our very ephemeral, very small lifetime, which is, oh, let's say 85, 90 years, right, in one lifetime, in the mortality of the soul. But we do. And the book that came to my mind, and please don't judge me, but that's what came to my mind, was the book by Steve Covey, right? Where it's a business book, and he talks about the 7 habits of highly successful people. And just I don't know if you read this book, but it's very interesting because he puts things into, if you have no idea what you should be spending time, just put 4 quadrants and start with what's important, what's urgent, what's not important, and what's not urgent, and then what's important and urgent. So we start with this, what's important and urgent, and instead of focusing on the urgent, focus on what's important, what's meaningful. So that's I thought it was a very interesting way to think about our lives at a very superficial level, but can push us to think about, yeah, am I spending my energy, my choices, right, my desires, my effort in what's important, or maybe simply what's urgent, but urgent may not be what we should be working on, because
yeah.
those are most likely distractions.
But it's
And yeah.
all that is actually amazing. But in all that,
Mm,
everything uh, uh, is related to the starting point. Depending
mhm,
on your starting point,
mhm.
you are going to judge that this is important and this is urgent, when
Right.
from a
Yeah.
different perspective is absolutely not. And this
Yeah.
is what Joanna de Angelis brings about many times, many of her books,
Mhm.
what are you doing, where are you putting your mind into. You have been so distracted by what the media is telling you that you
Yeah.
need, and how you have to present yourself in society and all that, and you are completely forgetting about the values of the soul, and things that are actually the only things that are going to bring contentment to you in a definite way. And
Yeah.
so in this sense, I think we still have to mature a little bit,
Yeah.
because we will it will be difficult for us to judge in a correct way what is important and urgent versus what is not.
Yeah.
Of course, if you think perhaps into a task, like, this is, like you say, a business book. So you're
Yeah.
talking about, your role in a company, in an
Yeah.
organization. So it's more straightforward what you have
Mhm.
to do. I have to achieve success. I have to uh,
Mhm.
reach a certain level of sales, or this or that. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
may be easy. But when we are talking about applying those values in our lives, I think this is where we complicate our lives, because we are basically, and this is, Joanna de
Mhm.
Angelis talking, she, and the way she talks, like I was telling you before, Marcia, is like a wake up call sometimes.
Yes.
She's very straightforward in what she's saying, and you say,
Yeah.
"Oh my God,
Yeah.
okay, I know, I understand." And then she talks about the craziness that we already committed in our world when we think about the two world wars and the
Yeah.
consequences of that, and now everything that is happening in our world and everyone, the way that everyone is losing hope and this
Yeah.
and that. And so when we get into this state, I think that somehow we try to hide from all of this with immediate compensations.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is what, I know it's not necessarily good to me, but
Yeah.
it's going to satisfy me momentarily. It's like, when you are on a diet and then all of a sudden you eat a big dessert because you said, somehow, I need that, I deserve that, I need some compensation, I was a good girl. And I mean, there has to be some reward and things
I
that
lost 3 pounds, so might as well get off the diet and overdo, right? Because we
exactly.
deserve. Yeah.
So it is that it's the starting point. So
Hmm.
here, the benefactors, Joanna de Angelis' invitation is for us to start making conscientious choices,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what is your existential choices? What are you bringing to your life, to your, to this journey, like you said, this
Mm-hmm.
journey of the soul?
Hmm.
And everything starts with how and where my values are. And I
Yeah.
know it is so hard for us to talk about it.
Hmm. Yeah. And she said something that it really in one of her books, Jussara, that really spoke to me. In her writings, she mentioned my words, right? Before we learned to speak, we reacted, right? Before we understood, we survived. And yet, even in our earliest instincts, the seed of intelligence was already present, quietly guiding the long journey of human consciousness. And that really brings to me some of the work that Allan Kardec in the Spirit's book, or Leon Denis speaks of that as well, the potentiality of the soul. And while we discuss and we envision, I can see in my mind's eye this this evolution of the soul, of the spirit, from very primal, based on instincts, right? Uh, but we should not reject who we are. We should understand that in this path we are learning, and we should appreciate the learnings, but yearn to do more and choose better. As you said, when we're speaking of those existential choices, it's all about what are the choices that will feed, will nourish my human consciousness, my expansion of that consciousness, my growth, in spiritually speaking,
Yeah,
right?
in one of her books, In Search of the Truth,
Hmm.
the name of the book already tells it, tell us
Yeah.
everything. The
Yeah.
truth. It has everything to do with what we are talking about
Hmm.
here. Is she very emphatically talks about us paying attention to what we
Yeah.
are doing, to our
Yeah.
choices, what we are going to bring to our existence. Because like we were saying before, I may feel immediate compensation or
Yeah.
satisfaction with a certain habit or thing
Yeah.
that I'm doing, but it's not going to fulfill me. And in this sense, when you think about, this passage that you were mentioning, and how
Yeah.
is it completely in tune with what we learn in Alan Kardec's book and Leon Denis and other books. When we think about the spirit, the creation of the spirit, it is basically, thinking about a seed.
Yeah.
We are like a seed. We have the germ, the Latin germ, to become everything, the giant oak tree. But at the
Yeah.
beginning, that's why, before we learned to speak, there was, reaction. Then there was
Mhm.
surviving. How am I going to survive in this sort of ambience, or all of it? It's
Mhm.
sometimes, I think,
Yeah.
since we are in the very early stages of this development as immortal spirits, we may think
Mhm.
that we know a lot, that we are, uh, um, great, super developed, but not all. 30 years ago, we didn't have this possibility of communicating with each other. Yes, we're moving fast. Technology is taking us to unimaginable places. We use it to watch those science movies,
Mm.
cartoons, and reading those science comics, and we
Yeah.
never dreamt that so many of the things that were written there or were presented to us today we have, and much more. And
Yeah.
because of that, I think, we are achieving everything, but we are forgetting, like you say, this journey, this quiet journey to
Yeah.
the source of who
Yeah.
we are, and
Yeah.
understand why we are here. It doesn't mean that the experience has to be unpleasant, that we have to be completely guided only
Mhm.
by spiritual, because even when we meet those people that are 100%, or I mean, at least they try to be, or they say they are,
Uh,
they're
uh,
boring. They're they're not
yeah.
there yet. They have a very diverse idea of what being is spiritual means, right? It's
Yeah.
not lightning and incense or hearing some sounds. Of course, all of that helps. It can help
Yes.
us to concentrate, to have those special moments, and it can make us feel very good. But everything comes from the inside, because
Yeah.
I may have all those apparatus near
Yeah.
me, and it's still my mind being
It's not quiet at all, right? It's going all over the place. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Um, it just reminds us, all of us, that our story, and I'm not saying history, I'm saying our story, right, is not just biological, but it contains a deeply psychological and spiritual from the very early, from the beginning of this journey. And leading to, as you mentioned, Jussara, to this, the ability to now come to, and this is beautiful thought from Joanna de Angelis as well in the book that you referenced, right, where we are dealing with the rise of reason, right? And yeah, intelligence. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, with those science fiction and futuristic portrayal that we've seen in our the days as children, the Jetsons, et cetera, and we're like, oh, we're there, we are here, right? But as we got to get closer and closer with the rise of reason and to an age of technological dominance, we also, unfortunately, and that's the truth, we also got to a point that we're reaching an age of a disoriented individualism, right? And so, Jusada, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit to me and to all of us who are here in this live, from a spiritist perspective, what does it truly mean to be intelligent, right? And with that, the second question that comes to my mind, and what does it mean to be whole? And by whole, I'm talking about the favorite words by Joanna, right? Uh, integrity, integral human being, the that human being that displays a sense of plenitude, of wholeness. But anyways, what are your thoughts in terms of the concepts that we should be attuned or better tuned to regarding intelligence and achieving wholeness versus only what's so apparent to us, which is this highly evolved, technologically speaking, world that we live in, where we are all disoriented, right? We don't know anymore what to do. We're distracted. We are unfocused. What do we need to do? What are your thoughts?
Like we mentioned at the beginning, it's not easy to be human, right?
I know.
Because, we we still are in the early stages, and according to how we study in spiritism, spirituality,
Mhm.
we understand that we have this beginning, right? We are all created so simple and unenlightened. We are a blank slate, so to say,
Mhm.
right? We are going to be starting to write our story, and
Mhm.
and I mean, it doesn't matter how many errors you have committed, because you have time to learn and to
Uh-huh.
make amendments, and to just pick yourself up and start continue doing things, and learning in this whole process. But at the beginning, like we said before, we don't know that much, and we are just starting now. And I think we are really in this point in our
Yeah.
society where we already think that we have accomplished so much, we have reached so much
Yeah.
in terms of scientific improvement, the way of living, the comforts for the material life. But we see that there is a hole, right? There is an emptiness within
Yeah.
ourselves. This is what Joanna
Mhm.
de Angelis talks in her book, Empty Lives, and then A Full Life. We are feeling this emptiness. And because we still do not know better, when we have not yet turned ourselves to the spirit, or to this process, like Jung used to say that the path to individuation, the journey between this transition in between the ego, the shadow, the self. Because we don't know that much yet, we are looking uh, for things that we think that, like you said, is they are important and urgent, but they are not. So in my mind, the lack of satisfaction that I have is because I would like to have a better car,
Mm.
and I don't have it. So I
Yeah.
will work hard. It's like, the carrot in front of myself. I will work
Yeah.
hard, and I'm going to be able to get that car, and then you will buy the car, and that emptiness is still there. And then you think, well, it's not because of the car, it's because of a vacation. I need a
Yeah.
vacation. And then you have those dream vacations. Again, we are not talking bad about any of that. Okay, please
Uh-huh.
go after a new car, your dessert
New
vacation.
car. Yes.
What we're talking about is, don't think that they
Mhm.
are capable of give you permanent satisfaction. No, nothing that is impermanent can give you any kind of permanence. And I
Yeah.
think this is where, when we turn ourselves into the spiritual path, we will find this permanence, which is acceptance, which is understanding of your role here on earth, which
Mhm.
is learning a bit more of humbleness,
Yeah.
and so many things, and achieving a bit more peace with what you are, with yourselves, and seeing that we are not here to compete with each other. I
Hmm.
used to say to tell myself quite often, actually, when I was
Yeah.
young, I used to look in the mirror and say, remember that you are not the only, and you're not the best, because
Yeah.
there is only always people that are may have the same abilities or greatness that you have, or even more. And we are not here to compete, because living in society, and this is what Joanna de Angelis emphasizes so much,
Hmm.
learning to live with each other, being codependent of, you have a talent that I don't have, and I need you to feel completeness, right?
Hmm.
And this codependence that is actually healthy, if we are not here to diminish the other that do not possess what we do, because definitely they will have something that we do not have. So there is no
Almost,
point in.
almost like a symbiotic relationship where I give and I get, right? Not
And when we think about,
abusive, but
yeah,
symbiotic. Yeah.
and when we think about that, there is less motive for us in our ambitions to
Hmm.
lead this competitiveness to the point of promoting wars or
Yeah.
conflicts, or things that definitely we are going to regret in the future. Even if we are
Yeah.
talking a small scale, that can be just, how we deal in our daily lives with our
Yeah.
family members, right?
Yeah.
There is always some struggle and conflict, and that we are constantly promoting because of this or because of that, and we are losing track of the
Yeah.
spirit, and even remembering that not being perfect,
Yeah.
right, that we are still on this journey, that we are still going through this path of what are the
Yeah.
choices that I'm making for my life, and what are
Hmm.
the consequences that they are bringing to me. And this
Yeah.
is the big issue, and the big issue in spiritism as well, in the sense of, reminding us, and this is what Joanna de Angelis is telling in this chapter that I mentioned,
Hmm.
law of cause and effect. When are you going to stop and analyze the effects of what you are sending into the world? It's like a
Yeah.
boomerang.
Yeah.
There is no
Yeah.
way of you escaping the return of the boomerang. And then who's
Yeah.
to blame?
Yeah.
Society, lack of opportunities, which is normally what we do, even God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's very interesting, and in a very tongue-in-cheek way, there was a series. I think the name of the series was "The Good Life," I think, and
Hmm.
the Good Life series was about the fact that after you die, right, you go to this place, and it's very interesting because it's a humor, very light-hearted, and there's this whole battle of where are you? Are you in heaven? Are you in the good place, right, heaven, or the bad place, hell? As we know, and there's awesome book for those who have not read. Allan Kardec wrote, I think it's actually in 2025, is it's 106 years, 60 years of a publication, Heaven and Hell. And it's so good because it brings to light the narrative that we've heard over and over again about punishment, about eternal damnation, about all of this. And Kardec beautifully, masterfully tells us that is not so, right? But back to the little series, it gets to a very interesting, almost plot twisting sense of everything you do, every choice, Jussara, every single choice that you make has a zillion consequences. And how are we intentional or not about our choices? And when we're just surviving in a way, we're just living, waking up and surviving the days so that we can sleep and wake up again the next day. We're not aware, we're not conscious. Those decisions may lead to very difficult effects as based on the law of cause and effect, right?
Yeah. And I think, coming back to your question in terms of intelligence and wholeness, I was thinking
Yeah.
that perhaps this is my way of seeing it at this moment. Okay. I was thinking, what is to be intelligent is to have the
Hmm.
ability to reason and to choose what it is to be whole. And
Hmm.
then I would use the phrase and the teaching of Paul of Tarsus, where he
Hmm.
says, "You are entitled to everything, but not
Right.
everything is convenient to you." So when I know that and I act like that, it means that I'm whole. I
Yeah.
have intelligence to decide, but I already know how to distinguish what is going to bring me good, and not only to myself, but to the world. Because
Yeah.
at this point, we will understand that because of our connectedness, we
Yeah.
will, in this interaction of each with each other, there is no way that I can feel whole and happy and living a blissful life, knowing what is going on in the world or what is
Yeah.
going on with other people. Being whole means you understand that you have a role in the world that is, to prevent those things to happen that and these are the happiness that are going to remain with us. So far, that's why sometimes people say, I'm engaged in social work
Yeah.
and nonprofit organizations. And it's quite often we hear people saying, I came here to volunteer because I was feeling so down, or I had nothing to do, and somehow I needed to see people that were suffering more than I had, or do something
Hmm.
with my time. And then they say, "Oh my God, I thought that I was going to be donating something, with my time, with my disposition of doing things, but I'm receiving so much." Because it's such a fulfilling thing when you are giving yourself to others as well, and using your possibilities to make the world better. So
Hmm.
if we need this kind of a reward that is going to be permanent, try to engage
Yeah.
yourself in any social work or any nonprofit. And then there are so many that you can choose from according to what
Hmm.
you are
Hmm.
more inclined to. And what we are trying to do is the opposite. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to make my body happy, and my body is going through a process of decay, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And we'll come to a point where we cannot stop it. That not even with plastic surgery or not.
Well, and that's the whole idea of external intervention versus internal intervention. And our bodies, they silently, quietly do not allow you to lie, right, Josada? It's all that we are, as in our thoughts, our imagination, our emotions, our words, our efforts, our actions, all of it comes back into this map of our body, and it is expressed there many times with some diseases, regardless of as many surgeries anti-aging. In my case, I'm dealing with that, Jussara. I confess I'm having a hard time with my gray hair and my wrinkles. It's like, oh no. And yet we know this is who we are. Why is it so hard to accept? And I love the idea of that we're talking here, which is if there is a cycle or many cycles of corporeal existence, and knowing what's important, what's meaningful to invest our time versus what's not, either because it's just urgent, not important, or because it's ephemeral in nature. It's based on sensations instead of spiritual growth. Then the question is, with if the cycle it is to age and to fall ill sometimes is what we need to go through, right? A moment to just just quiet all the noise outside and listen to within. And why is it so difficult, Josada, for us to accept that,
And I
right?
think this, the wake up call Joanna de Angelis is giving us in terms of
Mm,
uh, trying to lead us to really find uh,
mm-hmm.
true happiness.
Yeah.
Even we mentioned this situation with the physical decay and plastic
Mm-hmm.
surgery and all of that. Sometimes we even see people that can do all of this and can afford
Yeah.
all of this, but at the same time, we look at themselves. They are not happy. Their
Mm-hmm.
eyes have no. They don't shine. There
Yeah.
there are there is bitterness in them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes we see people that didn't go through any of these procedures, but they present themselves in a much healthier way,
Yeah.
and a much more pleasant person
Mm-hmm.
for you to be next to or having a conversation. And so I think it's also a preparation, like you said, for those cycles of life,
Yeah.
because it will come to a point that um, I may like to use different shoes or this or that, but your fit's not going to fit in the standards any longer. The so out fits are not going to make it feel better necessarily, because it's a different stage in life.
Yeah.
But this other thing that she's telling us: look for the right things.
Yeah.
Pay attention in your choices, right? What are you're going to bring me, everything that you're bringing to your existence, or we could say existences, because
Yes.
it doesn't end. Our journey doesn't end now. And you mentioned the heaven and hell, and it is
Yeah.
a much smaller scale. There is even a book that I published recently, The Transcendence, Life After Death, that
Uh-huh.
it brings also some testimonies of the spirits, trying to wake us up in terms of saying, listen, to what kind of life I led and what I had to go through. And now I'm okay, but I really want to do something to prevent you to go to the same path, right?
Yeah.
So the voice of the spirits are here, and I think we are being in different ways with different philosophies. The world is little by little awakening. I don't have it here with me because I have a horrible memory for names, but
Mm.
just recently, one of my colleagues at work in one of these non-profit organizations, she had the opportunity of participating in a workshop that was promoted by Microsoft in Seattle.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we were talking about was basically AI. And one of the professors that was giving a talk, and actually it's not only this one, right? And
Yeah.
She
Mm.
transcribed it, some of the workshops and the talks that we had in they had in the workshop, so that people could have an understand what was going on. And then this professor, she mentions clearly how AI, in a way, will liberate us, will give us more time for us to think and treat ourselves emotionally, psychologically speaking. And I
I
mean, this is
love it. Yeah.
this
Love
is
love the
perfect.
concept because everybody's in fear
Bring,
of
remind
artificial intelligence, right?
bring her. I mean, she said that in public, so I
Yeah.
can't repeat her name, and it
Yeah.
was recorded. So,
Yeah.
but I was reading that, and I was flabbergasted because I said, "Oh my God, it's there are many more people and people in this area as well that is thinking about it, how we can liberate us so that we can finally have time to look within ourselves. And
Mhm.
there is so much mental health problems going on right now, right? We have to address this journey,
Yeah.
this journey to within, right? To think about ourselves as a spirit and to think about ourselves in, what really is going to bring me happiness. We have the experience already that is not a new car, is not a new vacation, because very
Mhm.
soon they are not new anymore. The vacations
Yeah.
were gone and it was a good experience, but it's in the past. I'm already thinking about the next one. So, but there are things that can really, really fulfill our soul. And I think this call from Joanna de Angelis is all about, what can I do to fulfill my soul?
Yeah.
And
I love
that,
it.
where do
Yeah.
I look for it? And
Yeah.
the answer is look within yourselves.
Yeah.
And um, and yeah, so
I just wanted to bring back what you said, individualism, right? And the question here is individualism is really the child of materialism, right? Because somehow we are failing to understand individuation, the path to becoming that integral human being, individuated, and we missed by, well, my individualism, my space, but it's often an egoistic, selfish, um, power hungry, disconnected. And you mentioned that, right? Breeding loneliness out of this everlasting competition. And when we are only thinking competition, Jussara, the thought that came to my mind is we get to a point that we fear intimacy, and I'm talking about not sexual intimacy, but that intimacy of friends that can trust each other, that the intimacy, professional intimacy, for example, where I am in a workplace and I don't have to look back because someone is trying to get my place, right, in this the rat race of a corporate world. But it is really, for us to understand that this is a mask of freedom, because I can be myself, but really this cult of personal branding as an example, which leads us to be a curated version of ourselves, that we're always at the peak, right? We're always outperforming everybody, and we fail miserably to create a space to be who we are as that eternal spirit, and to be authentic, to express the truth without having to conform to the truth according to the world, right? So to me, I this is a call for us to really understand, and maybe referencing Joanna de Angelis again, when she says the absence of a higher level leads to boredom, disinterest, loss of meaning in life. This a apathy that goes back to, I don't know, Nietzsche, right? When he was saying that the man is dead, there is nothing there, and we resuscitate, if you will, mankind with this illusion of mankind, the illusion of being present, because it is all hollow, it's all illusory, it's all based on um, a material reference, not a spiritual reference. So I think we are in desperate need. And thank you, Joanna, for the wake up call. Right, we're desperately needing that the transcendent support that is part of the path back toward spiritual integration and meaning that is true, that it arises from within, that is a result of reflection. You mentioned service, right? This alignment that comes from self discovery. Um, it comes from also results from spiritual consciousness. And I just wanted to know, for all of us, as we're reaching the end of our talk today, let us focus and try to remember a moment, just a simple moment when we felt deeply connected to the transcendent, to the divine, to the sacred, to something greater than yourself. Let us embrace, right, Jussara, the idea of humility so that we can then find true happiness and
I
peace.
found I found her quotations. Marcia is Dr.
Oh,
Lori Santos. She's a cognitive scientist and professor of Yale University. And she says technology is not here to diminish our humanity, it is here to liberate it. In the age of AI, our highest priority must be nurturing emotional
ah,
well-being. And then, she goes on and on. There is a part that she talks about ethics and empathetic, how as being empathy, as being as so important for us to have relationships, and urging all organizations, including nonprofits, to promote
mhm,
mental health and resilience, compassion, engagement in the world, and saying that, how important this, again, emphasizing the importance of psychological resilience. And
mhm.
so it's so amazing.
I love it. I'm deeply touched. I will reach out to you
Yeah,
offline, all right, so that you can tell me more.
we
And
are.
it's so funny, right, Jusada, because you talk about it's Microsoft, this powerful
Yes.
technological giant that once upon a time you have to remember. I always remember when Gates, as a younger man, got he was walking, he had that pie in his face, people are so concerned about all that he represented. And as we know, Bill Gates then dissociated himself from being the leader of that company to absolutely spend the rest of his time giving back all the money that he amassed, that the wealth, to help humanity. And I think it's very funny because then the other arc of the story is that Microsoft is behind Copilot, ChatGPT, and all the development of AI. They're really focusing on that. And then we see this workshop about, hey, everyone, wake up to the real meaning of
Yeah.
this new technological advance, right?
See,
Love
instead
it.
of saying we are in a technological area was everyone is going to be more like, robotic and just
Yeah,
concentrated in the AI, etc. They are
yeah.
talking about, let's use all of this to improve mental health, psychological resilience,
Hmm.
compassion, empathy, ethics, which is,
Yeah.
what we are lacking. And
Yes.
I thought it was fantastic because, it has nothing to do, but it has everything to do with spirituality. I'm not talking about
Yes.
this here, but it's about the same subject, and the goal is the same, and this is what we are missing. And this, I think, it's our world, and we have hope. We're getting there, but we have hope.
Joanna, thank
Yeah.
you for the wake up call, but we got some hope in front of us. I love it. Jussara, we are at the end of our time together. Do you have any parting comment to everyone?
No, I guess it's just that. Let's just keep doing the good work, believing in ourselves, and okay, if you need some immediate satisfaction, give this pleasure to yourself. But remember, this is not the one that is going to last. The one that is going to last is much more related to
Yeah.
when you look inside and when you look outside of yourself in order to give back to the world and to people that need our assistance.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And just for all of us who are here today, as a summary of some of the questions and discussions we explored today in our episode, this quite tangled relationship between materialism, individualism, the loss of meaning, and quite frankly, the power of integrating psychology and spirituality. So, with that, I can uh, speak on your behalf, Jussara, when I say we invite all of us to reflect on our personal evolution, the shadows we carry, but also this incredibly strong inner light that we're called to awaken. So when we say this, we just wanted to um, say we hear the wake up call, but we also hear the wake up call. Um, I hope this conversation inspired you to make some reflections on your own journey. Until the next time, please stay curious, stay compassionate, resilient, peaceful, and keep striving for those deeper truths within. If by any chance this was your first time listening to a program, the psychology and spirituality talks are based on the works of Joanna de Angelis, and we hope that you're able to perhaps juxtapose your own concepts of spirituality and psychology and gaining some insights. I want to thank you, Jussara, deeply, and I want to thank our sponsors, Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AMI Brazil, the Brazilian arm of the Medical Spiritist Association. I hope you're back with us next week. So long, everyone.